Imagine a reality where your favorite college football team, right, they score 84 points in a national championship game.
Which is just insane.
Right. But now imagine that those 84 points, um, that's just the bare minimum requirement to survive.
Yeah. That's the world we live in now.
Exactly. Welcome back to Saturday Chaos. And, welcome to the 2034 college football playoff where traditional defenses literally go to die and scoring in the 70s is just another Saturday.
It's just normal now.
Yeah. So if you are looking at your bracket right now, wondering how on earth to navigate the sheer volume of offensive firepower that just, detonated in round one, you are in the right place.
It is absolute madness out there right now. I mean, to really grasp what you're watching in these upcoming quarterfinals, we kind of have to look at the massive paradigm shift that got us here.
For sure.
Because the old school defensive masterpiece, those gritty 17-14 trench wars, that's a relic.
Completely dead.
Yeah. Ever since Florida dropped that historic 84 points on Michigan back in the 2032 title game, the whole the fundamental geometry of the sport changed.
Oh, absolutely.
Teams realized they had to just abandon traditional heavy linebackers for hybrid safeties just to cover the slot. And that opened up the run game, which then forced offenses to basically score on almost every single possession just to stay alive.
You literally have teams putting up arcade-level numbers just to survive their conference schedules.
Right. It's a totally different game.
And that reality has turned this year's playoff bracket into, frankly, a literal minefield.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to sort through the wreckage of the opening round, break down the tactical blueprints for the four explosive quarterfinal matchups, and make our definitive predictions for the rest of the bracket.
All the way to the natty.
Yep, all the way to who hoists the national championship trophy.
Yeah.
Because surviving this specific era of college football is basically a dark art at this point.
Yeah. Oh, it really is. It requires a completely different psychological makeup. I mean, you saw it in the statements made during the opening round. Just look at the firepower the lower seeds brought.
It was heavy.
Right. Number 8 LSU didn't just beat number 9 Clemson. They dismantled them 35-14.
Yeah, they did.
Number 7 USC looked absolutely terrifying in a 38-10 win over number 10 North Carolina. Number 6, Washington basically bullied number 11, Arkansas 56-21.
Just crushed them.
And then, number 5, Auburn dispatched number 12, Florida Atlantic, exactly as their historic pedigree suggested they would.
Okay, I hear you. But I'm going to push back on the narrative that round one was some sort of massive revelation. To me, it felt more like an appetizer of chaos.
An appetizer?
Yeah, it was loud, sure, but it was basically expected. Did any of those blowout wins actually change the calculus for the top seeds?
I think so, yeah.
See, because right now, sitting here looking at the data, it feels like those games were just glorified tune-ups for the real contenders. I mean, are we overvaluing these lower seeds just because they got to play a warm-up game?
Well, what's fascinating here is that you're looking at the bye week as an advantage, but in this hyper-fast, rhythm-based offensive era, rest is actually a trap.
Really? A trap?
Oh, totally. Round 1 was definitive proof of concept for momentum over rest. When an offense is running RPOs where the quarterback has 0.5 seconds to read a linebacker's hips and deliver the ball, rhythm is literally everything.
Right. It's muscle memory.
Exactly. A week off dulls that razor edge. Those round 1 winners, they kept their engines running at the absolute red line. So no, it wasn't a tune-up. It was a tactical sharpening.
Huh. Which sets up a terrifying dynamic for the number 1 overall seed. So let's look at Ohio State versus LSU.
Let's do it.
Ohio State is 13-0. They just completely humiliated a very good Alabama team, 52-24, the Big Ten championship. And yet, their quarterback, Ladarius Royer, is entering this game playing like a man who was personally insulted by the entire college football establishment.
Well, I mean, he essentially was.
Right. The man throws for 3,835 yards, 49 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions all year.
It's an absurd stat line.
He completes 75% of his passes. He wins the Davey O'Brien Award. He wins the Golden Arm Award. And where does he finish the Heisman voting?
5th.
5th, behind 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. So instead of poking a sleeping bear, you basically have a coiled spring and a Swiss watch. And all that mechanical perfection is now backed by a volatile amount of kinetic energy.
That's a great way to put it.
So can LSU's defense realistically survive 4 quarters against a quarterback operating with that level of clinical rage?
The short answer is no. But the why is what makes Ohio State so inevitable. It's not just Royer throwing the ball, It's the physical architecture of the team around him.
Okay, break that down.
Well, look at their center, Bart Ahmed. He didn't just win the Remington for the best center. He won the Outland as the best interior lineman in the country. He played 709 downs and allowed 0 sacks.
Wait, 0. That is a statistical anomaly.
Exactly. And the way he does it is pure leverage and intellect. Ahmed sets the protection schemes at the line of scrimmage, literally identifying where the blitz is coming from before the defense even snaps the ball.
Wow.
Yeah, so by the time LSU's defensive line even engages, Ohio State's front is already perfectly angled to wash them out of the play. When you give an elite, highly motivated quarterback a mathematically perfect pocket, the defense is suffocated.
And you have to add in an Ohio State defense, right, anchored by Terrell Bridges, that gives up only 64 rushing yards a game. LSU's going to find themselves stranded.
Completely stranded. LSU will, they'll hang around early on sheer athleticism, but they won't have the ball enough to keep up.
I am completely aligned on the mechanics there. I mean, LSU might script a beautiful first 15 plays, but Ohio State's balance on both sides of the trenches will just turn the second half into a slow, methodical execution. So we both have the Buckeyes advancing to the semifinals.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But if Ohio State's dominance is built on cold, calculated execution, this next game abandons execution entirely for just pure, unadulterated psychological warfare.
You're talking about Georgia versus Auburn.
Oh, yeah. Here's where it gets really interesting. Number 4, Georgia is dealing with the immense weight of a highly controversial first-round bye.
Which people are still mad about.
They got that auto bid as the ACC champions, despite having 3 losses, and the college football world just lost its collective mind. Fans are screaming that a one-loss team deserved it more. So the pressure on Georgia is astronomical.
It really is.
If they come out flat after a week off, the playoff committee is going to be publicly roasted. And they aren't just playing anyone. They're playing number 5 Auburn, an offense averaging over 70 points a game.
It is the literal worst possible draw for a team under pressure. Auburn is historically dominant. Their running back, Juan Combs, won the Heisman with 2,403 rushing yards and 42 touchdowns. He averaged 11 yards a carry.
Which just sounds like a video game glitch. Like,
Yeah.
How does a human being average a first down every single time he touches the rock against SEC defenses?
It's crazy. But it really comes down to Auburn's offensive line utilizing wide zone blocking schemes that just stretch the defense laterally. And Combs has this incredible patience. He waits for the linebackers to over-pursue by like a single half step, and then he plants his foot and just accelerates vertically.
It's lethal.
And that's just their offense. On defense, their EDGE rusher, Dontrell Abernathy, he swept the Nagurski, the Bednarik, and the Lombardi awards. He had 28 sacks and 48 tackles for loss.
Let me stop you right there, because 28 sacks in a modern season is absurd. I've heard Georgia fans argue that their quote-unquote quiet dominance and disciplined offensive line can neutralize him. Is that just a polite, media-friendly way of saying they don't have the firepower?
No.
Or can they actually scheme around Abernathy?
They cannot scheme around him, and it's mostly because of where he aligns. Auburn places Abernathy in what's called a wide 9 technique, so he lines up way outside the offensive tackle.
Right.
That width forces the tackle to kick step frantically backward just to get a hand on him, and Abernathy has the biomechanical bend to just dip his shoulder under the tackle's hands and flatten his path right to the quarterback.
So he's just under them.
Exactly. When a guy is getting 28 sacks, he isn't just ending drives. He's creating forced fumbles and negative yardage that immediately puts the ball back in Juan Combs' hands.
It's a terrifying feedback loop. Abernathy forces a punt or a turnover, and Combs immediately drops another 7 points on your head.
Yeah.
I don't see Georgia keeping pace for 4 quarters under the psychological weight of that bye-week controversy. I am taking Auburn to completely overwhelm them.
I am taking Auburn as well. The sheer gravity of Auburn's roster is going to collapse Georgia's disciplined approach.
All right, so moving away from the pure star power of Auburn, we transition into what feels like a gritty, ugly physics experiment. Number 3, Florida versus number 6, Washington. To me, if you are filling out your bracket, this is the sneaky best matchup of the quarterfinals.
It really is. It tests your whole philosophy on what actually wins in late December. Washington is riding incredibly high. They just blew out Arkansas, but more tellingly, earlier this season they won a 45-42 shootout against USC.
Right, that game was wild.
They proved they can win a track meet, and they just proved they can win a fistfight.
But they are walking into the reigning dynasty of the 2030s. Under Coach DZ 3-time, Florida won national titles in 27, 31, 32, and 33. I mean, they are the team that famously broke the sport by hanging 84 points on Michigan.
True.
Yet somehow this year, Florida feels overlooked because they lack the singular, flashy superstar narrative of Juan Combs or Ladarius Royer. I'd argue Florida is actually more dangerous right now, specifically because they know how to win ugly. Are people forgetting that Florida is the boogeyman of this era just because Washington had a couple of flashy wins?
This raises an important question about championship DNA versus, seasonal momentum. Like, how do you stop a momentum-driven team like Washington?
How do you?
Shrink the game. Florida doesn't have a Heisman candidate, but they are an absolute machine. They average 46.7 points a game, but more importantly, their defense only gives up about 22 points.
Which is unheard of right now.
Exactly. And they do this by utilizing heavier personnel groupings. So bringing in a second tight end to run the ball, methodically bleeding the play clock down to 1 second before every snap. They literally reduce the total number of possessions in the game.
It's brilliant. It's like starving a fire of oxygen.
Yeah.
Washington thrives on rhythm, right? Getting the ball back quickly, pushing the tempo. But Florida is just going to lean on them for 4 quarters, converting third and shorts, and refusing to give Washington's offense the field time they need to get hot.
Precisely. Florida has the physicality to dictate the terms of engagement. They won't panic if Washington scores quickly on a deep shot. They'll just get the ball back and grind out an 8-minute drive. That ability to dictate the pace is the exact kryptonite needed for a team like Washington. I'm picking Florida to advance.
I am right there with you. It won't be the sexiest game of the weekend, but Florida's tactical discipline gets them through to the semifinals. Which brings us to a quarterfinal game that is the exact opposite of tactical discipline. Number 2, Texas versus number 7, USC. So what does this all mean? To me, it means we're about to watch a drag race where neither car has brakes installed.
That is the perfect way to frame it. Texas is the number 2 seed, and they have built their entire offensive identity around force-feeding one single player, wide receiver Barry Pitts.
The Biletnikoff Award winner.
Exactly. 133 catches, 2,152 yards, and 23 touchdowns.
Just absurd volume. And on the other side, USC is a number 7 seed that plays total arcade football. They beat UCLA 93-7 this season. 93.
Yeah, that's not a typo.
They have 2 legitimate Heisman contenders on offense with receiver Jamie Sosa and running back Trayvon Finley. And defensively, Enrique Guerrero won the Jim Thorpe Award by pulling down 10 interceptions.
The sheer speed on the field is going to be blinding.
See, I trust Texas slightly more in this matchup, specifically because the mechanics of how Barry Pitts plays the position. In an absolute shootout where both defenses are inevitably going to fail, a transcendent, unguardable receiver breaks the geometry of the defense.
Yeah.
Well, Texas uses bunch formations to ensure Pitts gets a free release off the line of scrimmage, meaning you basically can't press him. That requires USC to dedicate a safety to bracket him over the top on every single snap, which fundamentally weakens their run defense and opens up the middle of the field. I'm taking Texas to advance because Pitts is a structural cheat code.
I'm going to stop you right there because you are severely underestimating USC's defensive capability, specifically Enrique Guerrero. I am taking USC to pull off the upset.
Really? You think they can actually contain Pitts?
I don't know if they contain Pitts, but I think they can bait the Texas quarterback. Guerrero didn't get 10 interceptions by accident. He is a master of pattern matching. He'll show a deep third coverage shell, wait for the quarterback to commit to a throw, and then break underneath the route.
Okay, I see that.
But more than that, USC's overwhelming team speed creates massive problems for Texas. Texas has struggled with consistency when they're dragged into deep 4-quarter track meets where the other team just keeps scoring. USC has Sosa taking the top off the defense and Finley churning out chunks on the ground.
Right.
That dual threat capability is vastly harder to game plan against in a sudden death scenario than a single star receiver. I think USC outpaces them.
Okay, it is a phenomenal point, a split prediction. I've got Texas surviving the shootout, and you've got USC pulling the upset. But I think we both agree that whoever survives that chaos is fully capable of carrying that momentum right into the national championship.
Oh, there is no ceiling for either of those rosters.
All right, so let's look at the bracket we've just built. The quarterfinals are settled, giving us our final 4. We both have Ohio State, Auburn, and Florida advancing, alongside the survivor of that Texas and USC bloodbath. When you look at those semifinalists, who actually has the blueprint to hoist the trophy?
If we look objectively at the matchups, only 3 teams realistically possess the balance to win it all: Ohio State, Auburn, and Florida.
Makes sense.
Because the team that survives the Texas and USC game is going to be exhausted, and their reward is running straight into Florida. As we discussed, Florida's defense is uniquely designed to bleed the clock and shrink the game, which is the worst possible matchup for a track meet team. Florida's balance easily gets them past Texas or USC, setting up a heavyweight clash for the championship.
I completely follow your logic on the bottom half of the bracket. Florida's ugly physical style dictates the terms and gets them to the title game. But on the top half, you have the unstoppable force of Auburn's Juan Combs against the immovable object of that Ohio State defensive line.
It's a clash of the Titans.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State gets past Auburn's historic offense because, unlike Georgia, Ohio State actually has an elite defense to pair with their scoring. They can match Auburn point for point and still get 2 or 3 crucial stops. So my national championship prediction is Ohio State against Auburn, with Ohio State winning the whole thing. But your path looks a little different.
It does. I also have Ohio State neutralizing Auburn's rushing attack, but I have them facing Florida in the national championship.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it would be a phenomenal tactical rematch of the 2027 and 2033 title games. But the end result is the same. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Ohio State has simply been the most complete team in college football all season.
They just don't have a structural weakness.
None. They have elite quarterback play, an offensive line anchored by a center who mathematically refuses to allow pressure, and a defense that completely shuts down the run. After watching them systematically dismantle a premier program like Alabama 52-24, it is impossible to pick against them. Ohio State is too well-rounded to fail.
So we have a consensus. We are both decisively picking Ohio State to win the national championship. But you know what the ultimate lingering irony of this entire season will be?
I have a feeling it involves the Heisman Trust.
Exactly. If Ladarius Royer finishes this 14-0 run, hoists the national title trophy, and ends the year throwing for 50-plus touchdowns against just 3 interceptions, all after coming in 5th for the Heisman, the debate over the validity of that award is never going away.
It will be the defining controversy of the decade.
So to bring it all together for you listening as you finalize your brackets, remember that the 2034 college football playoff is a gauntlet of reality-breaking offenses. It is going to be loud, fast, and completely unhinged. But Ohio State's complete, angry, tactically flawless roster makes them the ultimate wagon of the season. They are the only team capable of playing any style, in any weather, against any opponent.
And it leaves us with one final fascinating thing to think about. If an undefeated, historically dominant quarterback can execute at a level of pure mechanical perfection, lead his team to a national championship, and yet still finish 5th in Heisman voting behind players putting up 42 rushing touchdowns and 2,100 receiving yards, has the fundamental definition of what is valuable in college football permanently changed? Or are we all just blinded by the sheer intoxicating volume of these arcade-era stats?
That is the million-dollar question, and it's one you might want to ask yourself before kickoff. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 2034 bracket. Keep an eye on the chaos, and we will see you next time.